Quran and AI, Artificial Intelligence, Secret of Intelligence, Enlightenment and Levels of Consciousness. From Complete Belief in God to Invariance. This is a long-term research to bridge the gap between religion and science. It is about mapping sensory information of the Quran and tracing their path in neural networks and finding the invariant words of conversion of the Quran according to artificial intelligence. 30 artificial words in the Quran. The natural scripture of the Quran contains 30 words, such as alm, s, q, and that do not exist in the natural Arabic language dictionary. Here are the 30 artificial words that are mentioned in 29 chapter in the Quran. We will be browsing the 29 Quran chapter and see these words one by one. Aleph Lam Ra. Aleph Lam Mim Ra. Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sad. Taha. Ta Sin Mim. Ta Sin. Aleph Lam Mim. Yasin. Sad. Hamim. Hamim Ain Sin Kaf. Kaf. Noon. The Search for a Perfect Belief in God. On Ramadan 21 Friday 1994, 2:30 a.m., I prayed to God to grant me perfect belief in Him. Immediately, the answer came into my heart as follows: the words such as ALM, ALMS, Q, S, and N are the logical invariants of the Quran. That was the answer. The answer to perfect belief came in a very unexpected, pure scientific way. But in which science such invariance can be found? That was the question. Few months later I saw a dream, in which a blue planet was holding the name of God in Arabic and a house of light on earth located over an area where a hospital is constructed. The name of God was written over the planet with pure light and shining very beautifully. I woke up with a transform in my head in which the first verse of chapter 68 was transformed into 10000000000000001. The chapter is initiated with the letter N, which corresponds to 1, and the letters other than N corresponds to 0. As we see, letter N corresponds to 1 and letters other than N corresponds to 0. I started applying the math function, morphic function, over the Quran chapters initiated by artificial words composed of 3 letters such as ALM to generate verses like 111, 0101100101100, or ALM, CLCALCCACLACCC. But the question remained, what is next? How to connect these verses together? I intensified the search in university libraries such as the University of Damascus for math books which contain such numerical sequences, hoping to find a math system that would connect these numerical verses together. After finding books in discrete mathematics, a new hope was born to find the transformations and the invariance of the Quran numerical chapters. In 2002, it was the biggest surprise to find books in language theory in University of Toronto Math Library. So language has a theory. No book in language theory was found in the University of Damascus in 1995. What was more interesting is that these language books contain sequences such as ABBBABABAAA, the matter that resurrected the hope to find connection between these verses. After searching different kind of languages with different transformations, no language was found. Again, after finding a book in language coding theory, a new hope was born, but it was a dead end again. Books in language theory, finite state automata, and language coding theory were unsatisfactory from the aesthetic point of view to connect the verses together. Even post systems to manipulate alphabets do not have invariance. What a disappointment. After seeing a dream that the Quran chapters are connected with folded chain that looked like chain of S, I became confident that the whole Quran chapters must be connected together, making the Quran one unified revelation. Books in complexities gave new hope to find a system of transformation, through which the invariant of the Quran can be extracted. These books contain sequences like 011000101110 were hinting at programming machines and artificial intelligence, AI. So the focus turned into artificial intelligence. Still no big hope was found. In 2004, I was flying out of my body when I saw an angel, and as soon as I praised God in Arabic, he smiled with great impression of happiness on his face. Another angel came very close to me. His face was very serious, very masculine, with a beard. The bodies of both angels were white light. The closer they approach, the higher the sound of vibration can be heard. I woke up and ran to pray. It was 5:30 a.m. It was not until 2004 that the final answer was found. Jeff Hawkins wrote a revolutionary book titled On Intelligence, in which he explained the challenging problem of invariance and how information is transformed through different layers in the neocortex until it reaches the prediction invariant cell. So the transformation of the Quran verses has to go through the layers of the neocortex network to find the invariant words such as ALM, ALMR, Q, SN. It turned out that neural networks are used in the financial market to predict the rise and fall of the stock market. They are also used in biology to predict the spatial folding structure of amino acid subsequences. After that, my focus shifted from mapping letters to mapping sounds through the following fields. 1. Linguistic theory, phonetics, the sounds of language. 2. International Phonetic Alphabet, IPA. 3. Mapping auditory information in AI and tracing the path of information into the nervous system. The search should focus on how these sounds emerge and travel into the auditory system until the info reaches the brain and other part of the nervous system. In 2005, I saw the Quran projected by a beam of light between earth and heaven, and beside the beam a man was sitting. He was dressed with Arabic gown, in a seating position. The beam expanded toward heaven and narrowed toward earth. That was not a dream but a real projection. The beam of light oscillated few times, and when it touched me, I felt energized for the next few days, and a beautiful smell of fragrance filled the room. It was not possible to trace the fragrance back to any specific origin. It was just there. On October 9, 2007, Ramadan 27, 2007, Toronto, Canada time, and after searching for the night of Al-Qadr, night of decree, eagerly, I felt very tired, and fell asleep. After that, something very strange happened. The upper of my head was pulled and released many times like a magnet pulling a strong vibrating magnet until I woke up. It was 11:45 p.m. October 10, 2007, Ramadan 28, 2007. It was clear that human spiritual body is like a magnet, not in a physical sense, but in a spiritual one, and that angels have magnetic vibrating power. I thought that could be an indication of the night of Al-Qadr, since angels descend in that night, and vibration is associated with angelic entities. Therefore, I prayed eagerly in that night that God bring His light to the world. Later on, it was possible to understand this magnetic spiritual phenomenon by knowing that each human is maintained by God through a toroidal spiral energy field, which is similar to that formed around a magnet. On October 12, 2007, Ramadan 30, 2007, I felt energy surging through my head, spine, feet, and hands. The energy lifted my spiritual body out of my physical body, while wheels in each of my palms were spinning at high frequency with energy emanating from them against the ground. Both hand palms were directed toward the ground, while the wheels were spinning. But, when I flipped my palms toward the sky, the spiritual body dropped down and returned to the physical body suddenly. And the energy surge stopped suddenly. It was 3:55 a.m. When I woke up, the room was blinking light in the darkness. I tried to find the reason behind this angelic energy. I found the answer in a book titled Wings of Light written by Marie-Lisa Labonte and Nino Prevost. In the preface of that book, Marie Labonte mentioned that she had found a book titled Spiritual Healing by Alan Young, and that the author said, "There are guardian angels who protect and guide us and healing angels who help transmit healing energy to those who ask for it. These healing angels fulfill their mission in large part by using a power, an energetic, regenerative and reparative fluid, to ensure the functioning of the charkas, and they sometimes change certain substance in the physical, etheric, and metaphysical bodies. They can direct toward the physical, etheric, and astral bodies a powerful ray of regenerative, vital, and purifying energy which comes from their aura and other reserves. This creates auspicious conditions for purification, or elimination, and healing." Young, Alan, La Guérison Spirituelle, ed. Quebec Amérique, Traduction 1990. After that, I felt vibration with spin increasing over my head and reaching the center of the brain. The left and right brains started to vibrate and became united in vibration as one entity. I was able to feel the quick spin of a field around the brain. Later on, I started searching for spiral field in science to understand what happened, and I came across toroidal spiral field theory of Dr. Vladimir B. Ginsburg, which became a focal point of interest for me. After that, the vibration went through the spine and increased to the point where my body was shivering. It was clear that each person has crown energy center that can vibrate and spin at very high frequency when connected to a source of high vibration such as angelic entity. This spiritual phenomenon corresponds to physical phenomena known in physics as force vibration. This angelic energy was steady and highly energetic. A person connected to it can sleep less than 3 hours a day and does his or her work without feeling tired. The feeling of that vibration energy was very pleasing, to the point that no worldly pleasure can be compared to it. It was ineffable happiness. I have heard people saying God must have been bored to create the world, life has no meaning, why those in heaven are not bored of worshipping God. But it had become very clear that any person experiencing such angelic energy would conclude that God has absolute happiness and pleasure in himself, life has infinite heavenly meaning, and that when the soul vibrate and spin freely, worshipping God is endless pleasure. The biggest mistake is to project imperfect human characteristics over God. God is the absolute energy of love. He creates humans out of love, not out of boredom. For years, it was unclear why the vibration had been felt at the center of the brain. After watching YouTube videos, it had been clear that the pineal gland at the center of the brain is the answer to the puzzle. October 17, 2007, 2200 hours, 10 p.m. My spiritual body was pulled through my crown and heard the sound of cleaning my heart, but for slight uncertainty, while outside my physical body, the crown over my head collapsed, and I felt sudden drop in my head. The drop was painful. Immediately after that, my spiritual body was released and returned into my physical body. The first level of consciousness, focusing intensely on praying and praising God only. It was nerve-shaking and shocking experience. My soul was vibrating intensely and my mind was in very critical balance like a person walking on edge. It was very difficult to control my mind. Mind stability was possible only by keeping the mind very focused in meditation mode and praying without stop. In this stage of intense vibration, the only thing I could ever do is praying and prostrating. If I stop, I would lose my mind. It was not possible to shift the focus of the mind on anything else except praying. Each time I prostrated, I felt this rush of energy in my head. This level of consciousness is described in the Quran in chapter 41 verse 38. Quran chapter 41, verse 38. But if the unbelievers are arrogant, no matter, for in the presence of thy Lord are those who celebrate his praises by night and by day, and never grow weary. Meaning, it does not in any way affect God if men rebel against him. It is men's own loss. God's glory is being celebrated night and day by angels and men who receive the privilege of approaching his presence. To them it is a delight and an honor to be in the sunshine of truth and happiness. October 18, 2007. I felt sudden drop in the rest of my nervous system. So virtually, there are 2 drops, one in the head and another one in the rest of the nervous system. Why 2 drops? First in the head and second in the rest of the body? For years, I was wondering why going down from light certainty to uncertainty took 2 drops in the nervous system and not 1. The answer was found later in the first chapter in the Quran, the cow chapter, in the story of Adam and Eve. Only in that story God mentioned 2 drops, not 1. The first drop in verse 36 and the second drop in verse 38. Here are the 2 verses. Verse 36. Then the Satan made them slip therefrom, the paradise, and got them out from that in which they were. We said, get you down, all, with enmity between yourselves. On earth will be a dwelling place for you and an enjoyment for a time. Verse 38. We said, get down all of you from this place, the paradise, then whenever there comes to you guidance from me, and whoever follows my guidance, there shall be no fear on them, nor shall they grieve. The Torah spin and the cow chapter. After that, each time I recite the first chapter in the Quran, the cow chapter, I feel the Torah spinning around my head at the center of the brain with spiritual pleasure. And each time I meditate, I feel the energy is focused at the center of the brain. After a few days, the vibration became less intense, and I was able to go back to work again. The second level of consciousness, waiting for praying time impatiently to feel at rest. In this level, there is very strong connection to praying 5 times a day. The time in between praying time was felt too long, and I felt strong longing for the next pray in order to feel at rest again. The third level of consciousness, the third eye activation. October 28, 2007, 22:20. A burst of energy is going and cracking through the third eye. The third eye is activated. Heavens start to open up, images and sequences of light flying from far distance and getting closer and closer. After that happened, I was surprised to be able to see images of a person live when I look at him. But I lost this ability after the vibration dwindled. However, each time I meditate, I feel energy is focused at my forehead. Secret of intelligence and the spiritual theory of knowledge. Brain lobes vibrating in unison, energy flowing as a vortex above the brain, cloud cracking and light emerging experiences led to a new perspective of the spiritual theory of knowledge, to keep the mind focused in high vibration state and to receive information from the light without shifting the focus and in state of complete surrender is what intelligence is all about. There are a level of intelligence where the mind enter beyond the veil of clouds and surrender to the light and get information from it. This is what Nikola Tesla and Srinivasa Ramanujan described in their discoveries. In their dreams and visions, Tesla mentioned seeing images of light about new design and inventions. Ramanujan had vision in which he saw mathematical formula unscrolling in front of him. Intelligence is about focusing the mind on specific subject with high vibration state and going beyond the veil of clouds to receive knowledge. The highest level is when the both lobes of the brain vibrate in unison. This is the spiritual theory of knowledge. There are environment very sensitive to mind ideas, and there are levels of computation the mind can enter into it and compute. These mind-sensitive environment has higher computational power than current form of computation. It is new form of brain-machine interface. Human energy field. Brain and body vibration and crown and third eye energy made me have serious interest in the human energy field. The followings are excerpts from a book titled The Holographic Universe, by Michael Talbot. Valerie Hunt, a physical therapist and professor of kinesiology at UCLA, has developed a way to confirm experimentally the existence of the human energy field. Medical science has long known that humans are electromagnetic beings. Doctors routinely use electrocardiographs to make electrocardiograms, EKGs, or records of the electrical activity of the heart, and electroencephalographs to make electroencephalograms, EEGs, of the brain's electrical activity. Hunt has discovered that an electromyograph, a device used to measure the electrical activity in the muscles, can also pick up the electrical presence of the human energy field. The normal frequency range of the electrical activity in the brain is between 0 and 100 cycles per second, CPS, with most of the activity occurring between 0 and 30 CPS. Muscle frequency goes up to about 225 CPS, and the heart goes up to about 250 CPS, but this is where electrical activity associated with biological function drops off. Hunt discovered that the electrodes of the electromyograph could pick up another field of energy radiating from the body, much subtler and smaller in amplitude than the traditionally recognized body electricities but with frequencies that averaged between 100 and 1600 CPS, and which sometimes went even higher. Moreover, instead of emanating from the brain, heart, or muscles, the field was strongest in the areas of the body associated with the chakras. Hunt's most startling findings is that certain talents and abilities seem to be related to the presence of specific frequencies in a person's energy field. She has found that when the main focus of a person's consciousness is on the material world, the frequencies of their energy field tend to be in the lower range and are not too far removed from the 250 CPS of the body's biological frequencies. In addition to these, people who are psychic or who have healing abilities also have frequencies of roughly 400 to 800 cycle per second in their field. People who can go into trance and apparently channel other information sources through them, skip these psychic frequencies entirely and operate in a narrow band between 800 and 900 CPS. They don't have any psychic breadth at all, states Hunt. They're up there in their own field. It's narrow. It's pinpointed, and they literally are almost out of it. Hunt's most people who have frequencies above 900 CPS are what Hunt calls mystical personalities. Whereas psychics and trance mediums are often just conduits of information, Mystics possess the wisdom to know what to do with the information, says Hunt. They are aware of the cosmic interrelatedness of all things and are in touch with every level of human experience. They are anchored in ordinary reality, but often have both psychic and trance abilities. However, their frequencies also extend way beyond the bands associated with these capabilities. Using a modified electromyogram, an electromyogram can normally detect frequencies only up to 20,000 cycles per second. Hunt has encountered individuals who have frequencies as high as 200,000 CPS in their energy field. This is intriguing, for mystical traditions have often referred to highly spiritual individuals as possessing a higher vibration than normal people. The followings are excerpts from a book titled The Biology of Transcendence, by Joseph Chilton Pierce. The electromagnetic, or M, energy produced by the heart. This M energy arcs out from and curves back to the heart to form a torus, or field that extends as far as 12 to 15 feet from the body. The first 3 feet are the strongest, with the strength decreasing with distance from the heart according to ordinary physical principles. The dipole, or axis, of this heart torus extends through the length of our body, more or less, from the pelvic floor to the top of the skull. All living forms produce an electrical field because in some sense everything has an electromagnetic element or basis, but a heart cell's electrical output is exceptional. That congregation within us, billions of little generators working in unison, produces 2.5 watts of electrical energy with each heartbeat at an amplitude 40 to 60 times greater than that of brain waves enough to light a small electric bulb. This energy forms an electromagnetic field that radiates out some 12 to 15 feet beyond our body itself. October 31, 2007, 2:11 a.m. I saw stars in heaven, and saw armed fight and violence in the streets of Syria. November 12, 2007, 3 a.m. The fourth level of consciousness, heavenly mountain and songs. During meditation, I left my physical body and flew over a series of green mountains and heard the most fascinating love song in life in the right ear. The feminine voices were singing love songs in unison. Instead of surrendering during the flight and let the light guide me, I turned my head to look around, but that is when the journey was interrupted and stopped, and could not see the faces of women singing. I learned from that the road to heaven must be through surrender to the light and focusing only on the light. During meditation session, I separated from my body and found myself standing while my physical body was still seated over the chair few meters away. That is called bilocation. I looked at my physical body with great astonishment, and realized that my consciousness was not in the physical body, and that the physical body was just a vehicle for the spiritual body to experience life on earth and be tested on it by God. After that I snapped back into my body again. November 13, 2007, 4:25 a.m. 2 set of keys and a gate of light start to appear. Descending to biological vibration. During the descent I would see vision on what seemed like TV screen, and I went from level to level and saw many beautiful worlds such as a mosque on a beautiful sea, schools for Quran, city with novel architectural design. The higher level of consciousness were associated with angelic vibration and intense unconditional love for God and His service. The lower levels were associated with less intense love and seemed more solid. The descent from higher vibration to biological vibration took almost 2 months. The arrival at the biological vibration was marked with a vision in which I found myself sitting on sand. During the 2 months of descent I lost 20 kilograms in weight. January 19, 2008, around 3 p.m. Seeing heaven opening up again. July 29, 2008, 6:55 a.m. Sleeping in Syria in a tent, Quranic verses are written on the Syrian soil. Found part of the country destroyed. And many new construction projects were going on. Looking around and finding many foreign men in the country. And children were instructed by new curriculums. Saw a foreign man wearing a military uniform. Asked the military man what year it was? He did not reply. I looked in his watch to find the years flipping 3 times in a row. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2016, 2017, 2018. August 28, 2011, Ramadan 28, 2011. 13 p.m. Crossing over a bridge and reaching the other side. In the other side people gathered in a classical building that looked like a castle, looking at the horizon. Looking back and seeing balls of light coming through the clouds and bombarding the earth. The balls kept coming until the horizon opened up with the most wonderful colors and intense light in the center, and the ground close to the horizon turned into light network, and network started advancing from the horizon toward the people. The network kept covering more and more ground. Security forces rushed to counter the advance of that network, putting great effort to limit its advance. Light coming through the clouds and bombarding the earth reminded me of the Quranic verse 18 in chapter 21. Verse 18. Nay, we hurl the truth against falsehood, and it knocks out its brain, and behold, falsehood doth perish. And woe be to you for the false things ye ascribe to us. Ramadan 2012, August 10, 2012, Canada, Toronto time. I felt the white breeze of wind, blowing in my room, until the whole room was surrounded with a white cloud. And when I stepped out of my bed on that cloud, I feel the cloud pulling or repelling the feet like a magnet. That was the second time, in which it was clear that the spiritual world has magnetic characteristics in spiritual sense. July 28, 2013, Ramadan 19, Canada, Toronto time. I saw a multitude of angels rotating slowly counterclockwise around a central light that was shining like a sun. It was 6:15 in the morning. After that I wish that every day is Ramadan, and that every day is a holy day. If there is true energy of happiness, it is there in that world of light, that is the spring and the source of all happiness. August 6, 2013, Ramadan 28. I saw a shining ornamented disk of light that flashed in my eyes, on the top of the room. It was 0:25 a.m. The Maya experience. After all these spiritual experiences, I became totally confident that each person has inner vision and connection with the internal light, even though we are not aware of such fact. Deeply inside each person, there is this gate of clouds, and beyond that, there is the inner light. Such experience comes also with a warning for those who meditate passionately: you better be guided and supervised by an expert who knows these issues, because the cloud-breaking experience is mind and nerve-shaking. The problem was that telling that to any person would be considered as madness. How can you tell somebody about something so true, even though he or she can never verify it without personal experience? What was more astonishing is that despite tiresome search in organized religion, no reference to such experience was mentioned at all. The Maya experience in the Upanishad. But God does help those who search. After losing hope, I met an Indian friend. He told that the cloud experience is mentioned. And where? In the Upanishad book, which is written in Malayalam. He said that this experience is called in the Indian yogi writings as going beyond the veil of Maya. After searching the internet for the Upanishad and Maya, nothing was found. So to know about Maya, I needed to read that Malayalam Upanishad book specifically. My Indian friend did me a great favor. He accepted to translate into English the passages which talk about the Maya experience as narrated by the ancient Indian scientists of yoga. It turned out that Upanishad is not one book but a collection of many old books written originally in Sanskrit, and that the Maya experience is part of the process of enlightenment. It is a station in the road of enlightenment. In his book Vedanta Darsanam, Upanishad Swadhyayam Volume 1, Professor G. Balakrishnan Nair mentioned that there are hundreds of Upanishads in the Vedas, knowledge. Out of 108 Upanishads books, 10 books are the most important. They are Isa, Kena, Kada, Prasna, Mundaka, Mandakya, Taittiriya, Aitareya, Chandogya, and Brihadaranyaka. As far as I know, the only book in the world that explains the process of enlightenment so brilliantly is the Malayalam book my friend has. This book is translated from old Sanskrit books by Professor G. Balakrishnan Nair. What a surprise! The Indian saints have written wonderfully about the process of enlightenment, and nobody in organized religion did. Perhaps, they were afraid of writing about their experiences at a time when authorities could have accused them of being heretics, the matter that could cause them to face horrible torture and death. In our tempestuous time, where many have lost connection with their inner light and many believe that there is nothing beyond the human body, it will be very useful and guiding to tell others about this wonderful internal path to the light as written and experienced by the ancient Indian saints. It will be more useful to translate the book of Professor G. Balakrishnan into English for the welfare of humankind. Another future way of going beyond the veil of Maya will take place in artificial intelligence, AI. In quantum physics, the atom is described as a cloud and electrons as resonating waves, so what we see is the veil of Maya. Science is trying to go beyond the clouds, where the light of creation is at work. This light could be the light of the zero-point field, which provide imaging and information for creation. The universe is viewed as holographic network. Quantum artificial intelligence and zero-point field are trying to break the veil of clouds in order to reach the inner light of the universe. In fact, Edgar Cayce mentioned that there would be future science which will measure spiritual experience. We know this science today as artificial intelligence. Quantum physics talk about the dual nature of particles, and the Indian yogis talk about duality in the Maya and non-duality in the ultimate truth, beyond the veil of Maya. We are heading toward the inner light of the universe and human being through neural networks modeling of human nerve network and the universal network. Creation and imaging in the Quran and science. In her book, The Field, Lynn McTaggart mentioned that around the egg of the salamander, the image of the salamander was in the field around the egg, the matter that proved that imagining in the field is a physical fact, not mere spiritual experience. So the word of creation salamander and the information image of the salamander are both carried by the field. Chapter 7, verse 11, of the Quran says we created you, and then imaged you. So there is the word of creation and the word of imaging, which is consistent with what is beyond the veil of Maya, creation and imaging. For example, building a house is the word of creation, while designing the shape of the house with blueprints is the word of imaging. Sri Aurobindo also talked about the veil of Maya which, if removed, would enable a person to have psychic ability. In his book, The Four Yoga, Swami Adizarnanda mentioned that nature is unconsciousness and devoid of intelligence, hence the only way for nature to evolve is to come into contact with the energy or light of God, Purusha or ultimate truth, who activate nature with consciousness and intelligence just as contact with an electric current causes a piece of iron to become electrically charged. The Process of Enlightenment and the Unmovable God. The Process of Enlightenment is written by the Indian yogis and mentioned in the book of Professor G. Balakrishnan Nair titled Vedanta Darsanam. Upanishad Swadhyayam Volume 1 is useful spiritually for those who are searching for the inner light of human being, and scientifically for those who are working in science and searching for the inner light of the universe. The Indian yogis divide the process of enlightenments into 7 stages. 1. Senses organs: eye, ear, skin, nose, tongue. 2. Arthas, object of senses: sound, touch, sights, smell, taste. 3. Mind. 4. Intellect. 5. Great soul, Mahanatma, universal consciousness. 6. Maya Vyakta Prakriti, nature, illusion creating universe, covering ultimate truth. 7. Ultimate truth, unmovable God, Param Purusha Para Brahma, Sat Chit Ananda Brahma, force of pulses. Here are some brief passages from that wonderful book, Great Soul. The process is somewhat as follows. It starts with a clear thinking or imagination. This stage of meditation is called meditation with consciousness of I. It is the same as Mahanatma. The stage of Mahanatma is also called meditation with imagination, Sankalpa Samadhi. Here the yogi retains some of the worldly things like I, mine and desires and emotions. In this universal ego, individual small egos are born, which creates millions and millions of species. In an epic called Yoga Vashishta, the story of a yogi named Adalaka is mentioned. His training in meditation and experiences are narrated there in detail. He was regularly trying to control and disregard the wavering mind by means of strict training. He tried to lock up the mind within him, whereas the mind was flying like a bird from one subject of imagination to another. He used the Om mantra to control the mind. Gradually, the movement of mind and prana, oxygen, air, were subsiding inside his body. He felt intense extraordinary happiness in his heart. Adalaka tried to reach this state slowly and steadily. Control of the mind cannot be obtained suddenly. In his meditation, he experienced that a cool force of prana that emanated from the bottom of his heart, spreading all over his body and goes to the direction of his head. At the same time, he experienced that, from the head, a fountain of nectarine went down spreading across the nerves. The whole body was experienced as full of light. But Adalaka went ahead further without taking rest, being in association with these experiences. The mind was completely cut off. The result was the emerging rise of light of truth in the heart, like a sun. But the light was slightly enveloped by a cover of ignorance. He tried again to remove this imaginary darkness. Then he could see the clear light without any darkness. This state is the matured state of Savakalpa Samadhi. This is equivalent to Mahanatma. When the realization of the time responsible for the creation, maintenance and destruction of the universe is experienced, that is Mahanatma. Unclear state, Maya, Prakriti. What is Brahma? It is the ultimate cause of the universe. What are the characteristics of the ultimate cause? It should be unborn, immortal, unemotional, without movement, only one, all-powerful, all-prevailing everywhere, and all-knower of complete truth by himself. Can anything be born or dead out of this ultimate cause? Not at all. If anything is born out of it, it loses the basic characteristic of being unborn and ceases to be the ultimate cause. But it is visible that a lot of things are being born and dead in the universe. How can you explain this phenomenon? This is explained as Maya, meaning illusion. In reality, nothing new is born, and because of Maya, it is felt that these things are born. After becoming one with the Great Soul, the saint tried to shed his ego and go further ahead. That is to forget about I that felt all the visions of birth, death. The I gradually disappeared. No movement and no vision of matter and life. The light of absolute being, Sat, appeared in full A stage without name and no feeling of touching. It is unclear stage, avyakta. The I seemed in a state of sleep, though the saint is awake. Unlike the individual sleep where the I is behind a dark cover, here the I is in a cover of light, the light of absolute being, Sat. This stage is Maya and it is also called avyakta, illusion. This is where the absolute truth Brahma stands behind a cover of Maya. Maya is the result of the force of Brahma only. Brahma, God, uses this Maya to do creations. All the universe, galaxies, solar systems, and all universal forms of matter with names and forms, are generated from the Maya and these forms return and merge in the Maya. Prakriti creates everything by means of the pulsating force from Purusha. The first action of the Prakriti is to make a delicate covering around the Purusha. This state is called as avyakta, meaning unclear. The innumerable elements of this universe get their unique power from Prakriti. These elements come and go. Birth and death are the special qualities of these elements of universe. The force of Maya of Prakriti can produce these objects. Maya is capable of imagination and can design and produce any objects. Param Purusha, ultimate truth. The stage of unmovable God. The saint was still not satisfied by reaching the state of Maya. The I, though in state of sleep, seemed to come up and go frequently. The courageous saint tried to shed the I. They were courageous in the sense that the saint did not bother about the destruction of individuality. This adventure completely removed the delicate cover of Maya. The ever-illuminating ultimate truth became very clear. The I became one with the ultimate truth in a non-dual state. There is no way to go further since this is the final destination. There is no name, no form, and no cover. Controlling the mind gradually and preventing imagination and withdrawal of senses are the most important things for the preparation to attain Param Purusha. Since the truth is revealed by negation of the mind, truth is beyond the expression of words and mind. This can only be experienced by individual soul. There the saints reached an eternal stage of ultimate truth, which is devoid of all curtains of ignorance, untruth and partial truth. There they experience the truth as self-radiating superconsciousness of ultimate bliss. This consciousness devoid of the imaginary veil, called Maya, is absolute bliss Ananda. So the combination of being, consciousness and absolute bliss is Brahma. The real knowledge is the experience of undivided consciousness. All other knowledge is worldly. Without understanding that any kind of debate is meaningless, these debates will not lead anyone to the aim. Adi Sankara Acharya has explained the experience of Brahma in the following way: cannot be explained in words, cannot be guessed by mind, the effect of absolute bliss is so immense. There my mind is like hailstorm merging with ocean, it merges with even the tiny parts of the Sat Chit Ananda. Let the Param Purusha bless us to reach him very slowly. Those who know Brahma unite or merge with Brahma, the unmovable God in the Quran. Chapter 112, verse 1-4, of the Quran says say, He is God, the One. God, the unmovable, unchangeable. He begets not nor was begotten. And there is none comparable to him. Professor G. Balakrishnan wrote describing the characteristics of the ultimate cause, God, as unborn, immortal, unemotional, without movement, only one, all-powerful, all-prevailing everywhere, and all-knower of complete truth. In more than one occasions, I heard Muslim orators saying that chapter 112 is equal 1/3 of the Quran. Why this small chapter that talks about the unmovable God is equal 1/3 of the whole Quran? The cause wasn't clear until I read the final stage in the process of enlightenment, the stage of ultimate truth. In this stage, God is without clouds, without curtains, God is radiating a superconsciousness of ultimate bliss. While, in the beginning of the Quran, the cow chapter, God comes in the shadow of clouds. The unmovable God is shining without any clouds at the end of the Quran, the Sincerity chapter. Chapter 112 marks the final stage of the enlightenment process, the stage of the unmovable God. The Maya experience in the Quran. In the Quran, chapter 25, verse 25. And, remember, the day when the heaven shall be rent asunder with clouds, and the angels will be sent down, with a grand descending. The Great Soul experience in the Quran. Quran, chapter 19, Mary chapter, verse 16, 17 and 19, we read the followings. Verse 16. And mention in the book, the Quran, O Muhammad, the story of Maryam, Mary, when she withdrew in seclusion from her family to a place facing east. Verse 17. She placed a screen, to screen herself from them. Then we sent to her our soul, and he appeared before her in the form of a man in all respects. Verse 19. He said, I am only a messenger from your Lord, to announce to you the gift of a righteous son.